So welcome to tonight's Gemini yoga class. As with many of the other zodiac and your body classes, we're going to be connecting Gemini, which is the sign of the twins, with its body part that it rules. In this case, the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. So these things that I sometimes otherwise call accessories, because you don't have to use them to do yoga, right? Although we can, and we can use them quite a bit. Now, today, as we're doing this live, it is particularly hot for the season. It's above average temperatures here in New England. If you're joining us from Arizona, it's always above average. So I say that mostly because when we bring the arms up overhead, it will bring the energy up in our body. And so if you're already feeling a little bit warm from the day or being outside, please just keep them low. Notice that about yourself if you feel that coming into play. We're not going to go too crazy with things, but I just want to mention that because from the Ayurveda perspective, that's one of those things that can help us either raise the temperature or bring our energy up, but we can also use the arms to bring the energy down. So we'll be moving the arms around, and you might notice that for yourself and see what's happening for you. Hands, communication. Often in yoga we use mudras, which is simply a position in the body, or it's often connected to the hands. And they say that each digit represents a different planet. We're not going to go through that, but if you're curious about it, there are lots of resources online and books and things like that. My favorite mudra, and we'll start with that today, is to bring all the fingertips together, but instead of squishing your palm like prayer, we call it Anjali, which is why am I blanking now? Anjali Mudra. It's almost like you're holding a little space between your hands, and then bringing that to your heart. So it might feel a little different than pressing the palms together. So with the thumb tips lightly at your sternum, hands here at your heart in Anjali Mudra. Perhaps start by looking around your space. And then if you're comfortable, close the eyes. And perhaps tune in to this place where your fingertips and palms are meeting. This connection of the two sides, left and right. And Gemini being the sign of the twins, it really speaks to these two sides of the body, or sometimes two sides of ourselves, personality-wise. Of course, you have multiple personalities, not just two. And I like to think too of this idea of reflection, not just sides of the body, but a reflection. And so just like you would be looking in a mirror, in many ways, the left mirrors the right or reflects the right. And then we also have differences in our left side of the body, if we're speaking physically about ourselves, and the right. And so as we move through the practice tonight, really honor any of those differences that show up. We can change postures, move differently. And see if you can balance the pressure that you feel at each fingertip. In your mind's eye, can you tell where the right side ends and the left side begins? And then go ahead and press the palms more together in prayer. Honor the inner wisdom that brought you to your mat today to practice, to learn something new, perhaps about yourself. And when you're ready, release the hands to your lap. You can keep the eyes closed if it feels good, and start to make a circle with your spine, as if you're stirring a pot of something, and the spine is your spoon. And then if you like, you can add this little breath experience. It's not really an exercise or a technique, if you want to call it that. As you start with this bigger circle, this stirring circle, you're going to inhale, 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 and make the circle smaller and smaller until you come to full inhale. Pause for a moment, pause the circle, and then exhale. Keep the lips closed if possible. Take a moment, take a breath or two, and then start your circles the other way. And do a few more circles, and when you feel like it, maybe the next time you notice yourself, begin to inhale. Try that same breath technique where you inhale, 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 make the circles a little bit smaller until you sit upright, full of breath. Pause for a moment and then let it all go. Return to natural breath. And then start to move your spine between a rounded cat back and a little bit of an arched seated cow. So you're starting to actually move the shoulders and arms along with your spinal movement. So as your chin gets closer to your chest, you might kind of round your shoulders. And as your chest moves forward, maybe squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. Now, if you're holding on to the thighs, it might look kind of like that. But if you continue this back and forth movement of your spine, but free your arms so that they're not glued to your thighs anymore. So you're making the same movement with your spine and your back, but now your arms are free. Notice where they want to go. They can make big movements or small movements. They can be closer to the ground or reach up in the air. Notice what feels good here and explore for a few more rounds of this cat and cow variation. Does it add to your experience by having the arms free? Nice. Beautiful. And then find an ending for that and come around onto your hands and knees. From here, reach your right hand to the sky, follow it with your gaze, and then sweep the hand through between your arm and knee that are on the ground and reach over to the other side wall, actively reaching. And then unwind, sweep the hand to the sky again, twist, and then reach through. Go about halfway to the floor. Nice. One more time, open up and then reach halfway through. You can stay where you are about halfway, or if it's comfortable, rest your shoulder and cheek down on the mat in a thread the needle twist. If you like, with the free arm, you can wrap it around to find your low back or your other hip. If that doesn't add anything, keep the hand close to the ground.
And then when you're ready, unwind the free arm so you can bring yourself back up to hands and knees. And then let's do the same thing to the other side. So this time your opposite hand reaches up and then sweeps halfway through. Let's do that 2 more times. Open up, twisting, and then twist the other way. The next time you're reaching through, you can either stay upright halfway or rest your shoulder and cheek down on the ground and take the thread the needle twist on the other side. Remember, it doesn't have to look the same on this side. And then unwind your free hand, press down onto the mat to rise up. Beautiful. And then come all the way up on high knees. This is a great place for some padding if you have a little blanket nearby. And then turn to face the long edge of your mat so that you can step your right leg out to the side. However you want to manage your space is totally fine. Doesn't really matter which way those toes point as long as you're comfortable. We're going to take the left arm up and over and side bend over towards the right leg. And then come back up and arc over. Just adding some fluid movement. Again, now your left arm is kind of swaying in the air. If you're feeling warm or too warm in your space, keep the arm closer to your body. The rest of your body can do the movement without your arm. But if it's fun and it adds to your experience, add the arm. Next time you're side bending, pause there and breathe. Notice what it feels like to breathe in this squished side bend position. And then come up and reach the hand down to the floor. Now, if you have something else that's maybe up off the ground, like a block or even a piece of furniture, you're welcome to do that if the floor feels far away. And then take your right arm up towards the sky. This is a side plank variation with the knee down. And then make a big circle with your right arm in the air. A few times with the arm extended. And then a few times with the hand on the shoulder. Notice what feels different about it. And go a few times in the other direction. Explore with the hand on the shoulder and the arm extended. Beautiful. And then pick yourself back up onto high knee and switch sides. Nice. So now your left leg is out to the side. Your right arm is going to come up and over for the side bend towards that extended leg. And you can flow a few times into the side bend and then upright again. Again, you can add the arm, notice what that feels like, or keep the arms closer to the body. And then pause in the side bend for a few moments. As best you can, breathe in and out through the nose. And then float back up, bring the right hand down to the ground or to a piece of furniture and reach the left arm to the sky for the side plank variation, other side. And explore arm circles, both extended and with the hand on the shoulder. And go in both directions a few times. And then pick yourself back up. Beautiful. And come back down onto your knees. Nice. Now remember that cat and cow, that arch and rounded position we did while seated? Well, let's try to do it here. It might feel like a bigger movement. So you might even round a little bit closer to the floor. And then when you come up, you'll arch back slightly. It might feel like a camel pose. Now you only have to go back as far as feels good. Adding your arms, remember when we had the arms free to move, this feels different than if they're kind of glued to your thighs. Your choice how you do it. You could also bring the hands to the shoulders and make little chicken wing movements. I like to pretend I'm picking up a whole bunch of flower petals and then throwing them in the air. You can come up with your own imagery if you like. Now notice that even though we're using the arms and this motion here, it's really about the bending of the spine back and forth. Nice. And find an ending for that. Rest your hands on the floor. And sit the hips back towards the heels any amount for child's pose. Honor whatever amount of knee bend is available. Maybe rest your hands on the floor and your forehead on top. And take a few moments, notice temperature, notice breath, heartbeat. Nice. Then shift forward onto your hands and knees again. Now in tabletop, our hands are kind of right underneath the shoulders, and it doesn't matter to me if that's where you keep them. In fact, you might change your mind in a moment. We're gonna do a little wrist prep here, so for your hands. So start by exploring the different edges of the hands on the floor. So the easy one is kind of pinky side resting on the floor, and you can bring most of your weight into your legs, right? So you're holding yourself up, you're just touching the ground with the pinky edges, and then the thumb side edges. But you also have the inside of each of your fingers edges. So just give a little contact with the ground, and it might even feel a little bit like you're massaging little parts and stretching little parts of your hand. Maybe you bring the backs of your hands to the floor. Be gentle and keep the weight in your legs. I'm bending my elbows and kind of doing a little baby push-up each time. It's mostly a push-up I feel in my legs as opposed to on my hands. But you're trying to make contact with the earth and all these different parts of the hand. It's also good because then if you ever fall funny on your hand, then your body goes, oh, I know, I'm prepared for that. All right, and then bring the hands onto the floor where you have a little bit more weight into the hands. Now, if the hands are forward more, it's gonna be a little bit more challenging both for the hands and the belly. If they're closer to your knees, you'll have more of the weight in your legs, so you're in control there, right? So you can choose. And start to tap the hands. Now, as best you can, keep your elbows straight. It's okay if that's not possible, but lift and lower the fingers a few times. Now you can lift and lower them slowly, or you can lift and lower with a bit of a tap, tap, tap. And it won't take long, but you'll probably start to feel some feelings up the forearm. Woo. And it's easier if you bend your elbows, right? Notice what happens when you try to keep them straight. Okay, take a break from that. Shake out the hands. Now we're gonna do kind of the opposite side. You're gonna bring your hands to the floor again and lift just your thumb, because we tend to kickstand and cheat with the thumb. So lift your thumb just that ½ inch or so off the ground, let it float. Keep your fingertips on the floor and start to lift the heel of your hand. So you're coming up sort of onto the base of the knuckles and then lower down. Now again, it's very different if you have your elbows bent. There's a little bit more challenge to the arm muscles and to the wrists if you keep the elbows straight. Now, if you have more weight in your legs, this is going to have less load on the arm. That's totally fine. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, like that felt easy, shift your shoulders right over your wrists and walk the hands forward. And now you have a little bit more load on your arms to try to lift and lower. If If it's too much, back off. And if it starts to burn on the back side of your arm now, take a break whenever you need to. Shake out the arms and the wrists. Nice. Bring your hands together in front of you and make little circles for your wrists. You can go a few times in both directions. All right, now hands again on the floor. This time I like to bring my hands a little closer to the knees and curl the toes under and try to lift your knees just an inch or so off the ground. You can lower them back down if that's too much, but now we're starting to load the arms and the shoulders a little bit more with this, what's called lion's pose. Try to lift and hold for a moment. You can lower down, take a break. You might notice the belly engaging as well. Maybe lift and hold, challenge yourself there. And then go ahead and lift the hips to the sky, extend the legs to downward facing dog. Take up more space on your mat. Maybe bend one knee and stretch the other heel to the ground. Go back and forth a few times. And at any point, if this becomes a little bit too much, especially because it is warm out, having the head upside down can also sometimes feel a little too warming. So feel free to come back onto your knees closer to the floor. If you're in downward dog, really try the downward dog. So press into all 10 finger pads and knuckle pads. Extend the arms strong and straight. Feel yourself lifting up out of the shoulder joint a little bit so your hips are reaching high behind you, and let your heels press low towards the back edge of your mat. Knees can be bent a little or a lot. And feel the heat starting to build, especially in the arms, maybe in the upper back and shoulders from holding yourself up in this shape. Take a break at any point. Otherwise, maybe spend 2 or 3 more moments, 2 or 3 more breaths. And then walk your feet towards your hands and come into a forward fold. Make it a half fold or hold on to the couch if that feels nicer, less dizzying. And then bend your knees, bring your hands to your hips and rise all the way up to stand. Woo. Step your feet wide. I'm going to move my blanket out of the way. And wrap your arms around you for a twist. Just make sure there's no walls coming out at you or other furniture. And then turn this into a hip circle. Move the hips around and around and around. A few times in the other direction. Beautiful. Awesome. Come up to stand and shrug the shoulders up, back, and down. And try to do this with the shoulder muscles. So when you bend your elbows, if you haven't already guessed, the bending elbows makes everything easier, right? But if you want to use and work and engage those shoulder muscles, keep the arms dangling. Go a few times the other direction. All right, one more time to the back. Nice. And then take the arms out to the sides. At any point, if it becomes too much heat, you can bend the elbows and do that with bent elbows. Otherwise, start to make some quick, small circles. You'll start to feel some heat in the arms and then change directions. If it's too warm, slow the circle down. But if you want to challenge those muscles, make them fast. All right, give your arms a little break. And now bring the hands right in front of you, palms facing each other, and start to reach them up overhead. Now, overhead is different for different people. Sometimes we have to stop here. Some people can go up here. Some people, their arms end up actually back behind them, but stop when you feel like your ribs are kind of jutting out in front. And then reach out away from you like you're trying to get something on the top shelf. So instead of pulling back, you're reaching forward. Beautiful. And then see if you can go up just a little bit higher. You're probably feeling some feelings. Feel free to bend the elbows if it becomes too much. Take a break as you need. Hold it. If you're still with me, hold it. And then slow motion, the same way we came up, go down. Shake it out. All right, shift the weight over to your right foot and take a big step back with your left one for a warrior one lunge. From here, slide the hands up the side body. So I'm asking you to touch yourself. And imagine now that your arms are just floating up to the sky. See if it feels any different from what we just did. Maybe a little lighter. Imagine that your arms are growing out of your waist. Nice. If it's too much or it's starting to feel hot, bring the hands down. You can do the sassy version of the pose. Otherwise, light and lifted energy through the fingers, strong energy down through the legs. Nice. And then turn your belly sideways. Let your heel behind you rest and bring the arms out to the side, warrior two or side lunging warrior. You can adjust your feet as you need. Then we're doing a little qigong move here with the arms. So you're gonna flip the palms to the sky. Lift them up overhead. Let the middle fingers touch at the top and then bring the energy down in front towards the belly, like you're cleansing your aura, your space. And then reach them back out to the side. Palms up. The same thing again, reach for the sky. And then come down in front of the body. Beautiful. One more time. Palms flip up, reach the sky. Middle fingers touch. Cleanse the energy in front of you. Beautiful. Straighten the leg and reach the arms out to the side again. Triangle pose. Reach towards the right side with the right fingertips. And then spin the arms here into place. You can turn your head in any direction. Check in with your neck. But see if you can feel the spreading of your arms. One hand reaching for the floor, the other one to the sky. Press into your feet and rise back up and bring the hands to your hips. So slightly different variation. We're going to try to do the same movement with the torso, but keep the hands close to the body. So triangle pose, lean forward to your right side and pause. Feel different? Still triangle pose, right? But how many of you like the version with your arms better? If you do, use them. If you don't, you can always come back to this one. And there may be days when that's where you would rather be. All right, come back up to stand. Whew. And then cartwheel your hands down, bend your front knee, bring the hands to the floor and step back either tabletop or downward dog, wherever you'd like to be for us to change sides. When you're ready, step your left foot forward. Take your time and rise up. Warrior one lunge, other side. Imagine your arms now growing out of your side waist. Reach the hands to the sky. Breathe as best you can, in and out through the nose. And then turn to the side, open up warrior two, arms out to the side. A little bit of that qigong movement, palms up, reach the sky, middle fingers touch, cleanse the energy in front of your belly. And then open up, palms flip, reach high, and then bring the hands down in front of you. Nice, one more time, open up, reach for the sky, and then cleanse the space in front of you. Beautiful. Straighten the leg, prepare for triangle pose. This time, the other hand whichever side you haven't done. And I apologize if I think I may have just realized that I told you right side. Hopefully you're on your other side, whichever that might be. Feel the arms spreading wide. One hand reaching down, the other hand reaching up. And then press into your feet to rise up. Just as a comparison, bring the hands to the hips. And then make that same move, that same triangle without the arms. Maybe you feel this more as energy through the legs, stretch in the legs, strength in the legs. And then if you prefer, use the arms. Nice. Press into the feet, rise up, and then cartwheel your hands down to the floor and step back, tabletop or plank. Feel free to lower the knees to challenge the belly, the back, and the arms just a little bit less. If you like the extra challenge and you're feeling brave, lift them. Press the hands strong into the earth. Elbows as straight as possible. And then lift your hips, downward facing dog or tabletop. Nice. Now step your other foot forward. And I'm sorry I got all confused. I think the first side foot is probably your left side. I could be wrong. Come on up to warrior one. All right. This time we're going to have the chest lean forward slightly. So feel like you have a long diagonal line of energy from the heel behind you up through your head. Try not to look at your belly button. So maybe look a little forward of the toes. And then take your arms out to the side like wings. Okay, except bend your elbows if you want a little less heat. So more heat, the arms are straight, less heat, the elbows are a little bent. And from this straight position, squeeze the shoulder blades together and maybe the elbows or the arms will lift, right? So it either looks like you're kind of pulling on an imaginary bar or you're lifting the hands and then bringing them back down. So squeeze the shoulder blades and then come back to your starting position. Try that a few more times. Remember, for less heat, bend the elbows, changes things, but it's still amazing for the strength in the shoulders. Nice. Try one more. All right, and then bring the hands back down, step back, plank, or modify the plank. Pause and hold strong for a moment. And then take a moment either on the knees or downward facing dog. Same thing, other side. So step your other foot forward and come on up, warrior one lunge. Nice. Hinge forward slightly. So really ground down through both feet. Let the back leg work for you too. And then if you did enough for the shoulders on the other side, you can skip this and hold yourself up on with the hands on the thigh. Otherwise, bring the arms out to the side again like wings, or do the bent version with the elbows bent. And then lift the hands, or if the elbows are bent, lift the elbows and come back to your starting position. Do a few more rounds of that. Two more. Nice. And then bring the hands down, step back, plank. Modify as you like. And then lower the knees, shift the hips back, restful pose, child's pose if you like, with the forehead closer to the floor. Although sometimes on a warmer day, that can be a little disorienting. So feel free to stay on hands and knees or upright on your heels. Take a few moments, notice temperature, notice breath. And if you're feeling like the temperature gauge is kind of on the warm side, I know it's warm outside too, and perhaps stay closer to the floor for a few more moments. If you want to challenge yourself with 2 more things here, we're going to come back to hands and knees. This time lower to your elbows. And when you do this, this changes the dynamic of everything, right? Because you're pinning a different body part to the floor. So instead of the hands being pinned and the elbows being relatively free to move, now we're pinning the elbows. And maybe the hands can kind of move, but awkwardly, right? Either way, you have a choice. 1, to not do it. 2, to let the outside of your pinky finger side of your hand be on the floor. Maybe you interlace the fingers there and make a little triangle. Or you can have the palms flat. Notice how that actually rotates the arm bone. Anytime you change how you flip the hand, it changes how the arm bone relates to the shoulder. So that's why it might feel different for some of you. Totally up to you, and you can change your mind. But then step back to a forearm plank. You can lower the knees. There's plenty going on in the arms, in the shoulders, in the belly, in the back. If you like the heat, take it and lift the knees. If you want less heat, lower the knees. And if you want another challenge to add to this, lift one foot and bring the knee over towards the elbow. And then step back, forearm plank. Lift the other foot, bring the knee over to the elbow, and then back to forearm plank. Whew, 1 might have been enough just to prove that you can do it. If you want to try a second time, you can. If you're feeling brave, 3rd time's the charm. Now the belly muscles are really feeling it. All right, go ahead and lower the knees, lower the hips, and adjust your elbows a little bit so you feel comfortable in Sphinx Pose. So now we're stretching the abdominals, giving the arms a bit of a break. Although they are propping yourself up, right? It's more of a passive move instead of an active muscling move. All right, and then from here, lower yourself down to the belly. Take a moment, maybe shift the hips a little side to side or lift the toes and stretch them back long. And then slide the hands down by your sides. Arms are long, palms facing down, elbows as straight as possible. From here, press the pubic bone down into the floor, so firm the low belly down against the ground. Start to lift the feet, the head, and the chest any amount. You don't have to go far to feel the strength in your back. And then maybe hover the hands a few inches off the floor. Keep them reaching towards the feet so the elbows stay straight. And notice how maybe there's some extra energy and muscle engaging in the upper shoulders and the upper back. If you want to challenge that a little bit more, lift and lower the hands a few inches up and then back to your starting position. If you want to make this even more interesting or challenging, if you have yoga blocks nearby, you can bring them underneath, on top of your palms. The palms would face up, and that adds some weight or load to the situation. We've done quite a bit already, so that might just be a kicker that you don't want today. Try a few more. And then lower your whole body down. Whew. Slide the hands under your shoulders. Press up to hands and knees so you can round into a cat back counter stretch. And maybe shift back to child's pose. Curl up into yourself. press your hands down next to your knees so you can rise up nice and slowly to sit. Come on around to your seat for a moment. I've got one more sort of challenging, effortful pose, and then I promise to bring you closer to the floor. Speaking of, before I lead you into what's called crow pose, which I know we haven't done in a really long time, that involves being on the hands again, right? Some energy in the belly as well as the arms. Before I lead you into that possibility, I want to show you a great alternative. And you may just see this and be like, yep, that's for me, without even knowing what the other one is. That's totally fine. So upside down crow means there's really no pressure on the hands, but you're still getting the belly engagement. So for that, you would lie on your back and lift your toes in the air so that your soles of the feet are kind of moving towards each other. They might not be flat, but the inner soles will be touching. And then reach your hands to the sky. And this is where you, as you lift, you'll feel that engagement in the belly. And you can pretend that there's a floor or a wall or that you're reaching for the sky here. And this is essentially the same positioning, just without gravity playing the same way. So if you decide you'd rather do that, great. If you want the challenge of being up on the arms, just make sure that your space is fairly clear in front of you. Now I'll show you that we're all on the 10-year plan, as one of my colleagues used to say with this pose, but it can be fun to play and try. So the first step is to kind of squat down. And so this is where some people's knees don't like to be this low. And that's why I like to offer you that other upside down version too. Step one is with your knees really wide here. You're going to have your hands down on the floor and you're simply going to lean onto the hands and feel the weight shift into your hands and arms. Feel your belly button go whoop, or your belly muscles go whoop, and then rock back and forth. So this is step one of the 10-year plan. You're simply rocking, shifting the weight. Okay, step two is to bend the elbows and bring the upper mid part of the upper arm just inside of your leg. You don't want to poke yourself with the knee and you don't want to poke yourself with your elbow. So you're just kind of snuggling in, and this is where it gets a little awkward, but the same thing here. You're just going to bring the hands closer in and start to shift your weight forward and feel a little bit of your body weight get caught on this upper part of your arm. So this is step two on the 10-year plan, and you might decide to go back to step one or try the upside down variation. Now, step three, the most important thing is if you can see your belly button, I promise you'll land on your head, right? So try to look out instead of looking back at your feet. And as you shift the weight forward and catch yourself on your upper arms, pause. And then maybe shift back. And then someday, maybe not today, the toes lift and baby birdie can fly. And then we have crow. And sometimes maybe a face plant, but hopefully not today, right? So feel free to explore here a little bit. Imagine, you know, for many of us, what we feel is just this heaviness on our arms. See if you can feel like you're lifting your butt to the sky as you shift the weight forward. Just playing here, see what's possible. And when you're done playing around, come on down to sit. And shake the knees out side to side like windshield wipers. Thank you for playing. As I was thinking about what do we want to do today, with everything, there's a lot of different ways that we can do anything. I thought, okay, arm stands, arm balances, crow pose. And crow as an animal is known to be very loud, right? And I'm sorry if you're a sun in Gemini or you have a lot of things in Gemini or you connect with Geminis, but Geminis are talkers usually. So I was thinking how perfect for that Gemini energy. All right, we have a lot to learn from all of the signs, especially the Geminis. They are quick. All right, with your legs extended out in front, go ahead and bend your right knee in, hold it with the left hand, and then spin your other hand around. So you're twisting from a seated position. And you can let the fingertips touch behind you to support. You can let the palm rest down. You can even lean way back and do a more relaxing style twist. But feel your trunk turn. Allow your head to turn to wherever feels comfortable. And then unwind, and we'll try the other side. So switch legs, bend the left knee in, hold with the right hand, and sweep your your left arm back behind you to twist to the other side. All right, unwind here, extend both legs out, and reach the arms up overhead and sweep them towards the legs for a seated forward bend. You can hold the legs, the floor, whatever feels best. And then bring yourself back up to sit and roll yourself down onto your back. Bring the knees in for a squeeze. Feel free to rock from side to side. And then bring the arms out to the side. Let the feet fall flat to the floor, but take them wide so they're maybe the width of your yoga mat space. And let the knees fall to the left. You decide if palms down feels better or palms up, but play with it in this reclined twist. And for some of you, your right hand might actually reach down and grab the toes or the foot of the right heel. Now, don't force it, but it is possible for some bodies. It does put you in quite a bit of a back bend here, so notice if that feels okay for you. But you might also feel some of the stretch down through the right quad as you reach down. So notice wherever you place your arm changes this entire posture, right? Whether it's pinned to your foot or not. And then carefully let go. If you're holding the foot, bring the knees back to center, and then switch so that the knees fall to the right. And here again, play with palms face down, palms face up. Maybe one is down, one is up. And if you want to reach down towards your left foot, even if it's not within reach, just notice how that changes the experience for you. Anytime we include the arms and change even just the littlest thing about where they are in a shape, it changes the experience of the shape. And then return to your starting position. Bring your knees into the chest and take the hands to the backs of the thighs. Let the knees go wide for dead bug pose and feel your back open, supported, connected to the earth. If you like, bring the hands to the outer edges of the feet and take happy baby for a moment. Or if there's another movement or posture that you want to feel complete with your practice, take that instead. It could be a reclined pigeon pose or something else entirely. And when you feel complete, prepare for relaxation. Maybe extend your legs out along the ground. You can have your arms anywhere. If you're feeling warm, having them away from the body is nice. If you'd rather connect with your body, hand on heart, hand on belly, can feel good. And give the legs or the hands a bit of a shake to release any final tension that you might be holding. I mentioned that the Gemini energy is very much connected to communication. And even though I think of communication very much as an external activity or exchange with others, there's a way that we communicate with ourselves too. And often we are nicer in our communication with others than we are to ourselves. And so just for a moment, thank yourself. Thank your body for all the work that it does, all the ways with which it moves, and it moves you. Thank you for the reminders sometimes through sensation or pain to take more care. Give thanks to those places in your body that you sometimes say not so nice things about. And thank your body for doing all these amazing chemical processes and functions to keep you alive, to keep you in this human experience for another day, without you even having to think about it. With deep gratitude, allow yourself to rest here. Even for a few moments. Feel yourself here, resting on the ground. And start by wiggling your fingers. Mirror that with your toes. Maybe stretch out your arms, your legs. And eventually, and at your own time, make your way to one side and use your hands to help you up to sit. When you do, bring your hands together at your heart, pressing them together in this mudra that symbolizes thanks in every culture that I know. Notice your thumb tips close to your heart. This expression of gratitude beginning at the heart, expressed through the hands. And I'm so grateful for you and your presence today. I hope this practice serves you and that you rest well tonight. Thank you.